Hi, everyone.
So Toby, you get more and more aggressive each time we go on virtue. You're going to exhaust us. Today you said you only take people to 3 or 4 galleries, and I counted
No,
today's
no,
eight.
no, 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 no. I always said
8.
5 or 6. I got
Today,
carried away.
today you have 8.
I know Sharon was annoyed at me. Sharon thought I put on too many. I couldn't get rid of anything. I don't mind if we don't get to the last ones. We'll still be friends.
Yeah.
I'm
going to drop it in for everybody. I'm going to drop into the hold on.
I love Richard Nonis, but it's a little depressing.
Yeah.
But we're starting off with the Rauschenberg show. Nobody might like, but I love. These are museum quality shows. Hi, everyone.
One of the questions we'd like to explore is obviously it's seeing live, artists who are alive exhibiting their art, selling their art. That makes sense. So when does it happen that you have artists that are no longer alive exhibiting, and who's exhibiting, and where's the art coming from?
Wow. Excellent question. Whoever asked that gets 10 points. It's usually the estate of the artist, and every serious artist that I know has a good person managing their estate. In fact, can I say that I'm doing yours, Sharon? Yeah. So I'm in charge of Sharon's. I mean, thank God she should live to be 120, but I'm in charge of her estate. And I already know until 120 when she goes what she wants. And I will say it. And if I'm wrong, she'll correct me. Right, Sharon? Yeah. She wants the people she cared about to get some of the work, but she knows me and she knows I can place them in the right museums first. In other words, I'm going to get them because museums usually have very little budget. So I know, like, she loves New York, so I'd call the city of New York. I mean,
but I guess here's the question: some of these artists we're going to go to in a second are famous artists. They still had work lying around somewhere.
Not lying around
in a storage unit.
No, yes. So I own a storage building with 3 other artists. So most serious artists don't sell all their work. I don't know any serious artist that didn't keep at least 30 or 40 and usually 50% of their work, because that's the only way that a gallery will continue with their estate. It's a very good question. So for instance, today, you're going to see this next week. Today, I went to see some beautiful Motherwells, and he has a foundation called the Daedalus Foundation that has a lot of work. Today, we're going to the Rauschenberg exhibition, and that estate takes care of that. The Ellsworth Kelly, his partner, was in charge. And what you do is, if you're a good artist, you make sure that you pick the right people to be in charge of your estate. Now, different people pick different things. So I'm going to tell you about myself since I know me. Please God, I should live to be old. When anything happens to me, I trust my 3 children more than anyone else. And then I have different art historians and curators that have been very supportive of my career, and they will be advisors. But other people do it the exact opposite. They give it to, like Ellsworth Kelly's partner is very involved. It depends, where people are.
So again, we'll get to the question, I guess, when we see our first 2 galleries or so. But how do you decide as an artist which pieces of art you're going to sell and which pieces of art you're going to store for later? So let's hold that question, and we can see some of this art we're going to see. And
that's a great question. I want to answer it beforehand.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a great story. I love stories. So the story that I heard when I was young, Sharon has heard the story 100 times. I was in California showing with a guy by the name of Abe Adler, a wonderful dealer. And he told me a story about Jasper Johns. And Jasper Johns was having a show in the Long Beach Museum of Art. And Leo Castelli was there, who was then the big dealer. And Abe Adler, Leo Castelli, some major collector, and Jasper Johns are talking in a little group. And the guy says, God, it's amazing. Jasper Johns owns all of this great work. And Castelli said, well, he was a very smart artist and he kept his best work. And Abe Adler pipes in and says, that's not true. You offered me these pieces. I didn't realize how good they were. And then I heard the story again from other people. So what I did is every time anything I did, I offered the gallery or whoever, take anything you want of mine. And if it didn't sell 3 times, I thought that God meant I should keep it. And that's what I did. Most artists I know tried to sell everything and then just kept a certain amount for themselves. In the last 20 years, I only show 50% of what I make, and the rest goes into this building storage and I have a storage unit somewhere else. And I believe that it's very important if I want my career to have legs. Legs means that what happens after I'm not here anymore, no gallery is going to want to do a show with 6 pieces of art unless you're worth, 600 million, which I think is ridiculous, or 150 million. So most artists keep a certain amount of their work, and then the estate makes a deal. Now, I just heard today that I can't say it because it's not official yet, but there's one, Motherwell is about to switch. Rauschenberg's, some of these estates are moving places. Another artist I love, James Rosenquist, which we'll see next week, his estate is about to leave where it was and go to somewhere else. So it's a big thing to get an estate of a great artist, because you don't have to deal with them anymore because they're dead, and you just deal with the best art, and the estate helps you pick where the pieces should go. So we're going to start with an amazing show at Barbara Gladstone.
Before we go there, you and I just started a discussion, so I have to officially welcome everybody.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was getting so excited.
I know. Yeah. I wanted to thank everybody back. This is the third of our 4 virtual gallery tours with Tobi. It's part of the overall 1-month artist in residence. If I'm counting correctly, Tobi, this is your 16th session in this residence. So 16 of 25. So it's your 3rd week, almost done. You're getting younger.
And I love it. I love it. I feel so happy to do it.
And we've been enjoying such a great variety of programs. We have tomorrow is our special chat session. We're looking at, we did sacred space, sacred time, sacred art. Tomorrow is sacred time, I believe, right? That's a 45-minute chat facilitated.
You should come to it because we're showing one of my favorite artists that ever lived, Christian Marclay, who did the clock. If you don't know it, you should know it.
That's tomorrow early. It's 9:30 a.m. California time, 12:30 p.m. East Coast time. And then Sunday, it's the art of Tobi Kahn. This is it, the big one. It's what do we title it? Ritual and the Art of Tobi Kahn. It's at 4 p.m. Pacific, Sunday, 22nd. So that's just a few of the things that are coming up. You can always go to our OCCSP website and find out more what's going up, next few weeks with Tobi, and then in June, lots of stuff coming up. So Tobi, I'm not going to introduce you again.
Yeah,
people know you.
It's so much fun seeing Rose. I love seeing all my buddies and Ellen. All my friends from New York and now California, and I'm very excited to see so many faces. And I really want to thank all the people that keep their faces on, because it means a lot to me. And very moving to me is on the last class, somebody that I know, the in-laws, the parents and the in-laws of a great rabbi in New York who showed up. And I was so moved, from a wonderful shul in New York. So I really thank you all for showing up. It's really means a lot to me, and I don't take it for granted. And I will flip through to see, most of 2, 3, and 4 don't show their faces. So I'm staying on page 1. I like seeing faces. And I want to say to Deborah, thank you so much for working the whole time. I love that I see you working. It makes me so happy that so I don't mind if everyone does other things while they're listening and just look up sometimes for the images, but I think it's great to be doing other things while you're learning.
Except no disrobing, please. This is not an official art class.
No, we don't have any live models here. That is true.
Okay, so we're off. We're still in New York. Which part of New York are we going to?
So we're now it was very problematic. I originally thought I was going to go around the country. That Art Freeze, I brought the magazine. It's in the other room. There's so much going on in New York now. So the galleries are so chock full that I stayed within a 10-block radius. It's kind of funny. But I could do, I think, 10 weeks in a row of just these 10 blocks. And not even go to the 2nd or 3rd floor, just stay on the ground floor. There's so many amazing exhibitions. So I decided to stay in Chelsea.
Okay, so we're still in Chelsea, and just make sure everyone knows I've dropped in the chat box the outline for today. So you'll have a list of galleries we're going to and some links. So Okay, where are we going first?
We're going to start with, but before we start, I want to tell my new friend Rosa that I'm showing you Carmen Herrera in your honor. I love her work. I love her work. I told you that before, but she's a fascinating person. So she unfortunately just died at 105, but the show was planned before, so she knew everything I would be in there. We're starting with Robert Rauschenberg, and I want to show this video, and I'm showing you short videos. There's one that's longer, but I'm showing you less than 5 minutes. So let's start with the video of Robert Rauschenberg. This is work he did from 1972 to 74. It was not that well respected or thought of at the time. Now people say it's brilliant. You might not like it, but that's cool. But now it's being re-looked at.
Okay, so tell me when you
video,
see the screen.
the video.
Can you see it there?
Yes.
Rauschenberg.
Rauschenberg. I think of him as really the greatest collagist probably who ever lived.
You know, there was all these distinct movements, art and pop art and abstract expressionism and conceptual art, and he somehow didn't fit easily into any of those camps, but he used images from all those camps.
How an artist functions and what the artist's role is, the parameters of art, the nature of art, what is the bottom line, what is the least thing you need, what can you get rid of and still have a work of art. He initiated those things. He was one of the inventors of post-war art world.
Movies are really a gigantic collage, you know, they are the juxtaposition of one image against another. And you look at Rauschenberg, that's exactly what it is. Things that don't always go together. And it's what film always is, which is what his work is. It's that really beautiful balance between real world, using the real world to make art.
He is one of the first people, if not the first, to explode the surface of the painting into the world of the viewer.
They do require a bit of work from the viewer. Just when you think you're in your comfort zone, it's disrupted by something quite visceral.
Our tendency is to seek a narrative. And he presents possibilities of that, and then he undercuts it.
He was kind of thinking outside the box in a way, and subverting the role of the artist, you know, that he was tweaking art history.
You know, the whole notion of taking a de Kooning drawing and just erasing it, rubbing it out. You know, I don't know how he said it cost 50 or 500 erasers rubbers to get rid of it. And then you end up with nothing. Well, you don't actually. You end up with something unbelievably amazing, probably much more relevant than the original de Kooning drawing. And you think, what kind of brain can do that, to think that up?
I love the idea of the erased de Kooning because of the whole process of making marks and erasing them, and what you decide to leave and when you decide you're finished. It seemed like collaboration was a very important part of what he did, and so many artists work in isolation. It was just interesting that he chose to do things in a different way. There was an awareness of performance, or that idea of not just the awareness of looking, but also being looked at, seemed to be something that he was conscious of. And that would have become more pronounced, I guess, by being around dancers. That idea of his life and his work being one, and him not having boundaries about where one ended and one began.
The conversation he had at the time with Jasper Jones, Cajun Cunningham, so this group of people at the Black Mountain College, the fact that they were changing motif and yet had a quite singular practice. The fact that most of the work they were doing at the time was conversational.
We were all, you know, borrowing off each other like mad.
His attitude towards the visual world is very like John Cage's attitude towards the world of sound. Everything is part of our visual world, so therefore everything can be drawn into a work of art.
The naturalness in which photography was and is integrated in Rauschenberg's work encouraged me to think of it equally freely. The simultaneity of news pictures and painterly gestures, I think that really struck me.
It's always that fine line, that balance between fiction and truth. And is it real or is it not? Well, it doesn't have to be real, actually. It's a semblance of reality, but you're using reality.
Our ability to make images is so extraordinary, and so much of our understanding of the world is dependent on that capacity, which is in us. It's not in the images, it's in us. His sense of the complexity of the bombardment of us with disparate things from which we try to assemble a picture of the world, a picture of ourselves. That seems very critical.
When you use found objects and people know what those found objects are, they're immediately sort of at ease because it's something that they have a place in their lives.
What Rauschenberg probably did was to show us that actually in everyday things, in the detritus of life, and can be something quite beautiful.
Okay. Now we're going to go to see the show that's up now. I hope you enjoyed that. I could have watched that for another 10 minutes, but I was nervous with your time, so I always try and pick things that are shorter. So let me discuss this with you before. You know what? This is great, Ari. Show them all the work so they can tell me how crazy I am, and then we'll look at them. So let me explain something to you while I see your faces. Let me explain. I was once in my 20s, and he was a huge influence on me. And when I went to art school, my teacher, George McNeil, it's one of my favorite stories. He had a show on it. Rauschenberg had a show on at MoMA, and I was doing my graduate school thesis show, and George came into my room and basically told me over and over again, Tobi, you must have loved the Rauschenberg show. And it took me like 5 times until I realized the work looked too much like Rauschenberg. And then I finally made the work myself, and it was 2 weeks until the show, and it worked out fine. And I did great. But his work was so simple. He showed you so little information. I know the story in the Israel Museum. I was studying there, and the Rauschenberg show came, and some of the guards asked where the art was. They thought it was garbage. This is the work I want to show you. So this is the work from 1972 to 74. So now we'll look at the pieces. Very minimal, but I think very impressive. So now let's look at this. Remember when this is done, 1972, 1974. Remember who was doing things? I love that first piece. It's cardboard, canvas, leather, and tire thread. So when you look at this, you say to me, oh my God, Tobi, this is like Helm. There's nothing there. I don't know what he's doing. I can't believe you're telling us to look at this. He's trying to take, as they said in that Tate shorts, he's trying to give you as little information and make you as the viewer stretch. Do you remember the pieces he did with Merce Cunningham? You can see that some of these pieces look like they could be objects that could be used. So that's one, but they're made out of cardboard, very fragile work. You say to me, I love this one again. And again, think about a box and decomposing a box. Now that erased de Kooning is not in the show, but let me explain to you why that's so important. You all know who Banksy is, right? Does everyone know Banksy? I mean, everyone knows Banksy. If you don't know Banksy, one of the most famous living artists who nobody knows who he is. He did that famous piece of a little girl, and they sold it at Sotheby's, and the painting started disappearing. So when he did an erased de Kooning, it's a great chop. It's a great idea. He has a de Kooning drawing, and then he just takes an eraser and erases the whole thing. So here he looks at a cardboard box and says, wait a minute, let's see how that cardboard box looks if I take the box apart. And then he has a plumb bob and a brush, and he basically is saying, you know, when you clean a room or you change a space, what are you doing and what are you getting rid of and what is left? So these works are as much about what is there and what is taken away. Now, I do not mind. Now, you might say to me, Tobi, please, I don't believe you. And I would say to you, if I didn't know his whole career, I don't know if I'd love it as much. But I do know his whole career. And this is just 2 years of this. This piece, anyone who likes Eva Hess, I love Eva Hess. This was done at the same time as Eva Hess was doing her work. And these are paper bags and fabric. Doesn't it make you think of an accordion? I just want you to let your mind blossom and move. Think about what space means. Think about what is inside and outside. Some people say it makes them think of the ocean. They think about waste. Some people say it looks like there could be little pearls in there and they're clams. In other words, as those people in the film said, he's trying to make you think. And no, I do not think he's trying to pull the wool over your eye. I promise you he's not. He does so many other things. You've seen the video of his work. Again, somebody tell me what they think of when they see this, and I'll tell you what I thought about it. I remember like yesterday, the first time I saw this. I'm going to tell you 3 things I thought about. I'd love to hear from you as an audience. It's made out of tire, tread, and wood. What does it make you think of? 3 major things. The first time I saw it, I went like, wow, that makes me think of. Anyone want to say anything? Please put it in the chat. I beg you. Anybody? Once I tell you, it's going to be borders. What is a border? Who's on one side of what?
There, yeah, we have a bridge.
Bridge.
Swing.
Perfect. Swing. Perfect. 2.
Collapsing after a road trip.
Perfect. Keep going. Now
London
you're talking.
Bridge. A bench.
Yes, bench.
And the letter U. The letter U. Judy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think. Yeah. But look at the simplicity and about inside and outside. A kid's swing. I love that. And later, I'm going to show you another artist who I'm obsessed with. I can't remember, Sharon, what's the woman's name at the swing who I love so much? We'll get her name. I'm showing you a video of her she did where she has birds and swings. She talks about how much she was influenced by this work. Her name is Mary. I'll get her name in a minute. But anyway, beautiful piece. Let's go to the next. Again, it makes you think of a snake. It makes you think of so many other things. And I think the work is deeply profound because it's so simple. Also, look at the fact that it's just string, rope, and a stone. Now, again, very powerful. Cardboard, driftwood, and fabric. Look at how it feels like it's going into the wall. Now, remember, it's very important that he's good friends with Rauschenberg and Johns. That's really important. Why? Suicide. Wow, that's interesting. About the, wow, wow. Because he shows you about dance can go through these. And remember, they're in Black Mountain. They're all these artists working together. And I want to tell you something that's so important. No one was thinking about selling this work at the time. They were not doing it to make a sale. They were doing it to talk out loud and say what they were thinking. And I think that's really crucial. The art world was not the way it is now. Work was not selling for $1 million. If you got $10,000, $5,000, whatever the equipment, it was a miracle. Let's keep going. And look at that. There are paper bags, gouache, watercolor, graphite, tape, and 2 sheets of paper. So when you look at this, you can see how he starts thinking about collage. You remember they said he was the greatest collagist? You saw all those things of the Kennedys and landing on the moon and all that. He's starting to think about, and I love what that one person said, it's about taking flat imagery and taking it off the wall and bringing it into a room. Let's go to the next. These are really famous of his. And you can see behind there, he has sand, acrylic on cardboard, and on the back, it's Day-Glo paint. You can see the purple, the yellow, and the orange. So he's basically saying, I'm telling you what to look at. There is something behind these, but it's only a reflection on the wall. Very profound. You know, we were talking about, we had Meryl Euclides here and talking about, you know, what you see and what you don't see. Very, very powerful work. Let's go to the next. Again, it makes people think of, I brought a group of people to see the show in person last week, and they said, wow, they think of the man from La Mancha or a horseback riding situation. Again, you see that orange and the yellow behind? Behind those boxes are Day-Glo paint. So it feels like it's entering the room. What is the difference between a painting and a sculpture? Is if it's in the room or on the wall. And now we saw the whole show. Now, I'm hoping you liked it. If you didn't like it, we can still be friends. That's how it looks in the installation. It's in 2 galleries. because it was too much work to be in one space. So they have two galleries, and these are the way they look in the two galleries. I just wanted you to see scale. So very often I'll show you individual images and then how it looks in space. Now there's one in the other gallery that has a chair. I don't know why it's not on here, but I thought, oh, there. Oh, no, that's not there. There's another one where it has, I don't know why I'm not seeing it. It's two chairs and a piece of material, and it looks like it was used for a dance. Oh, that's because it's on the 24th Street. You got to go to the 22nd Street one. Or maybe I didn't put that in there. And then maybe I didn't. So there are other pieces that are similar. All right, let's go to the next show.
Before we go to the next show, there was a question. Do you have to make an appointment? Like, can you just, is this a walk-in? Is it crowded? Is there a good time to go to the galleries or not go?
It used to be that you didn't have to do anything because of COVID. On almost every door, it says you have to go in with a mask on. It's open from 10 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday. It's closed on Sunday and Monday. So Tuesday through Saturday, it's open from 9 to 6. It's very hard to go in with a group, but I never have had a problem because all the people know me. But they have groups going in, and usually it's up to 15 people.
Any particular time, if you have any time to go, you should go
lunchtime,
or avoid?
Lunchtime is great. No, lunchtime is because, so I advise people. So I take people for the whole from 10 to 6, and we go to many shows. There are other art advisors. I'm one of the people that do artist tours. There are many of us, not as many because of COVID. And I'm proud to say that New York Magazine picked me as the best. And I'm very proud of that because I love doing it. And then there's a back room. And unless you only get into the back room if you come with somebody or you make an appointment before and say, I really am looking to buy an X or a Y. And if the gallery represents that artist, they put up work in the back room of that artist.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next. So this is the Ellsworth Kelly show. Oh, now Ellsworth Kelly died a short time ago, and this is one of my favorite short videos. He's on oxygen by then, and I want to talk about this. So let's go to see this. Very powerful. It's the end of his life and how he thinks about his work. Okay, you have to just press start.
Yeah, no, okay.
Always lived in the present tense. And I think I'd like my paintings to be in the present tense. When I was young, I was with a bunch of kids running around at Halloween night, throwing tomatoes and all that kind of stuff. And in the darkness, I was looking at a window, and I saw a red shape, a blue shape, and a black shape. And I left the gang because I was interested. I said, I've got to find out what that is. And I looked in the window, and I couldn't find what I was looking at. It was just an ordinary room. And then so I had to back up slowly. And then it was furniture, a curtain, blue and red. And it's very close to seeing my first abstraction. When I got to Paris, I did some Picasso-type paintings and figures that first 6 months. But then I stopped. I said, you know, I didn't come to Paris to be like the paintings that have been done. And saw a show in which the paintings were quite small. And I saw the windows, which were about 15 feet. And I kept saying, you know, I like these windows better than these paintings here. And I said, I have to have one. So I painted the window. I made it so big. I didn't want to tell anyone what it was. I felt that it wasn't really kosher to do something like that. But I began seeing things in Paris that I lifted. You know, I made drawings and things, ideas of structure. Yes, Lacombe developed from shadows on a staircase. I was fascinated by shadows. I felt like I was picking up something that was mysterious. I'm attracted to color and shape. I feel that people want a content. they've always had a content, you know, I mean, the figurative, right away is a story. And abstraction has always been, oh, it's abstract. I think my pictures need time. Time is very important with art. And a show, even though it's a couple of weeks, or sometimes a month, that's not enough time. You know, you go to the gallery once, you see it 10 minutes or so, and then walk on. I like to leave my paintings to be mysterious. I like them to be open. I feel like they have to be looked at. They have to be investigated. I'm not figurative, but I'm completely abstract in a way that I think I found myself. I could just say, for instance, every day of the week I'm here at the studio. Something comes to my mind, I make a sketch of it. It's like the light bulb going on, you know? And I have to do it. And right now, since I'm on oxygen and I feel like it's very important, I still have work I have to do. That's yellow painting over there as part of a painting that I'm doing. I definitely have to have that painting done in my lifetime.
That is so powerful. Every time I see it, and I must have seen it 10 times now, I feel like crying. He did get to see it finished before he died. But this is the work that's up now at Matthew Marks. I have to tell you all, and I'm going to say this about myself, not as a compliment to myself. When I was young, I didn't get it at all. And I kept saying like, oh my God, I just don't get it. It took me years to get it. And then one day, one of my friends said to me, did you ever see his book on photography? And I said, no. And he goes, you know, all those paintings are based on shadows. And after that, I felt like a light went off in my head and I went, oh my God, the guy is a genius. And then my friend said to me, aren't you sad that you now know the truth? And I said, no, I wish I'd known the truth from the beginning. And that's what I'm trying to tell all of you. My present to all of you is, I promise you, artists are not trying to fake you out. Artists are talking very often to themselves or other artists, but they're not trying to say, how can I do this easy and make the audience feel like they're idiots? Not the case. They might not explain everything to you. And I don't know if any of you know who Rav Soloveitchik is, but he was a great teacher. And my father took his shiur for many years. And he said what he loved about Soloveitchik was that if you knew nothing about Talmud, you got something. But if you knew about Talmud, it was amazing. And I feel that is the way that I feel most great artists are. If you don't know anything, you can look at it and say, well, I like it. It's pretty. I like the colors. But if you understand more, most artists are really trying to teach you a new way of thinking. And I'm a groupie of his now. I still don't know if I'd want to own one. I'd rather own a Carmen Herrera. We're going to see her later because she works at it from a different vantage point. Even though if you put them side by side, they look very similar, but she's working on a different thought process. All right, so now let's look at the work. Unless you have a question. Anyone had a question? All right, let's look at the work. So now when you look at it and you say to yourself, oh my God, sometimes they're on the wall like that. It is a shadow very often between two buildings or a floor. Or now again, look at the back wall. If you know color theory, green and red are complementary colors. Red and blue are primary colors. And then he has black, which is value. You remember, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to tell you again, black and white are not colors, they're value. And he puts a black there. And if you even watching it on a screen, do you notice that the black looks static and the three other colors keep moving? I hope you're noticing that. If you're not noticing it, you should start trying to notice it. But they look like there's movement. And look at the negative space of the white between them. And they almost start feeling like they're objects in themselves. And that is, I think, one of his great strengths, that he uses a roller. It's done very flat, very different than Carmen Herrera, but you're going to notice that because we're going to go to her soon after. I'm not putting them next to each other because I don't want you to start comparing them that much. I just want you to remember it. Let's go to the next. Now, when you look at it on its own, it's much easier to see the form. And you might say to me, it just looks like a slice of pizza. Or, I mean, that's what my students will come up to me, Toby, come on, are you serious? It's just like a slice of pizza on the wall. And I'm going, well, you know, it's a pizza, but pizza would have many different colors. And then I say, well, doesn't it look like the red starts moving into the wall and out of the wall? And once they start looking at it for a while, they go like, do you think he did that on purpose? And I go, yeah, that's conscious. How close it is to the floor, how bright the wall looks and how bright the color looks. That's a very conscious decision. Let's go to the next. Now, move down. Now, doesn't that feel like you're sliding into the wall? Because if you think about it proportionally, the front looks much bigger than the top. And it makes you feel like it's not a flat space, but you're like moving in. There's a gorgeous show I went to today of Robert Mangold, which hopefully I'll get to show you next week, where Mangold is playing a game with you that you look at the piece and it's as if you're turning a corner and looking at two different things. So what Kelly does, it's always about one thing. And do I see the marks in there? If you look carefully, you'll see that it's not, this green is not totally flat. I can even see it on my screen, but I know the work. You can see the marks in there. I thought Rauschenberg made, so I want to hear what she said, made social and political commentary on his work. Yes, that is true. Yes, he does do a lot of that type of work. Now look at this. Now this to me is fascinating and profound because look at the piece hitting the floor. Do you notice that? So how is this very different than the other pieces I just showed you? Somebody, I want to hear you talk. I want to hear somebody say something. Anybody?
We'll give people a moment. You want them to chat something?
I want to hear what they think. Why is this, you know, like Manishtana Halayla is there. Why is this so different? Right. Thank you, Rita and Bob. It's about balance because you feel that it's sitting on one point and it throws you off again. Go back to the green one. Go back to the green one. You see in the green one, you feel like you're going into the wall. Now you feel like you're on a swing or you're about, you feel like, I hope this stays up there. I hope this stays up there. Is that going to fall? Is that going to fall? It's about, it's like a dance. Yes, I agree 100%. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next.
Okay. Oh, I think Rona had something to say real quick. Yeah. Very quickly, Rona.
I just wrote that it looks like it's leaping from the floor. And yes. I know that artists put things, they place them in a certain place or request that that's the way it's hung on purpose.
Yes, that is true. In fact,
we just had that done at a show at the Blaffer where the piece had to touch, she talked about her piece had to touch the floor.
Right.
It wasn't sellable that way.
Right, right. All right, let's go to the next. I don't even know what to say. I'm so humbled by it because look at it up close. They look like they're floating. And I've been in the gallery just now. There's a little piece of metal behind it and it's sitting a little off the wall, but I feel the white columns in between just as much as the four colored pieces. And I think that's very profound. I love the way they fit in the space. Let's keep going because I'm so nervous about time and there's so much more I want to show you. Again, you walk into the space. I love seeing it like that. Keep going. Now, these are, they feel so much to me like you're going through tunnels. You ever go through a tunnel when you're in California, especially, and you're going through these big, and it feels like you're going into a space. They also make me think of flags. Again, remember, these are all based on shadows that he saw. And I think that's very powerful.
There's a question. I think you answered it, but if you could say it again, are these colors uniform? Or if you're in there, are you seeing different shades of green, different shades of red, different shades of blue?
No, they're very uniform. Yes, he mixes. Yes, they're very uniform. And that is a piece that I feel, I don't even know what to say. I'm just so enamored. Now, if you ever go by a building from now on, he's going to be part of your life because every time you see a shadow from a big building on the floor, you're going to say like, oh my God, that is an Ellsworth Kelly. So picture a huge building, I just, please God, pray for me. I'll know by the end of the week if I got it. I'm up for these 3 massive outdoor sculptures that'll be 25 feet that will fit in an entranceway of a building that's 35 feet. And I talked a lot about the way I cut the aluminum. And if I get it, I'll send you all pictures when it goes up. It'll be 2 years from now. But I cut all the angles of how the buildings around there's angles. I want this building, which is a new building, to bring in all of the surrounding buildings, forms and shapes into the 3 sculptures that will be like when you see it from one side, it looks like one, and then you walk around and you see all 3 units. Here, it's just like that big shadow on the floor of the building that's there. After 9/11, I thought a lot about these pieces when pieces don't exist anymore, buildings. All right, let's go to the next. And there's another angle of it. It looks totally different in another place in the room. And now you can get up close and see how thickly it's painted. Now, these were postcards of his. If he weren't famous, I don't know if I'd like him as much, but I do find it interesting. So from a very young age, he would take postcards and make collages on top of them. Let's just keep going. There's one that I like. I'm only going to show you one. That's the one I love. He did this in 1957. And I always think my family are Holocaust survivors. And when we came to America, I felt like we were so blessed to enter. And this is the Statue of Liberty and somebody marching over it. Very proud. So these are, I don't know if these would be so famous if he weren't so famous. So we're not going to go through this because I'm too nervous about time. You'll see it. You should go on your own time. That's a beautiful one also. I love that one. That screaming up, that one's beautiful. I mean, these guys did great work. But again, because he's so famous, that's why they became, these pieces are, now they're in museum shows all over the place. And you understand what he's trying to do. Okay, let's go to the next show. I want to skip Claire Sherman. Oh, no, you're going to love it. We're going to do Claire Sherman. I'm so nervous about time, Ari. Let's go to Claire Sherman. Start 5 minutes into the video and just do a few minutes. The work is quite, you're going to love it. She's the only one of the group that's not well known. But then we're going to go to Nicole Eisenman. All right, here we go. Minute 5. Go to minute 5. Because we're not going to watch the whole hour and 14 minutes. Keep going to minute 5.
And Jorge.
Right there.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for having me. Thank you, Nancy and Heather and Aldi for all your work on the show. I'm just thrilled to have it at the Kimball Art Center, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to everyone tonight. So I'm going to show some slides, and I'm going to try to keep it to about 30 minutes. But I'm also, you can see I'm joining you from my studio. So I definitely welcome, I'm definitely down to talk about material stuff, studio stuff. So at the end, we can make it more casual. And if any questions come up, my computer's on wheels actually. So I'm happy to give you a little studio tour for those that are interested in that. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see this pretty clearly. One moment. Whoops. Okay. So I wanted to start this talk by looking at some things that I look at and think about in my studio. So I'm starting with this Caspar David Friedrich image, Wander above the Sea of Fog. Partly because when I finished graduate school in 2005 at the Art Institute of Chicago, I entered landscape through an interest in thinking about the sublime in landscape, or the sublime in painting in general as an idea. This, notion that in looking at something we could be sort of seduced by its beauty, but also that it could be incredibly dangerous and volatile. And so thinking through that idea in landscape and the ways in which it's been portrayed. And I think I shied away from landscape for a long time because I was really concerned about its context. It just has such a romantic context. I wasn't sure if I wanted to take that on. And, it wasn't a very popular thing to be doing in graduate school. It wasn't something that was sort of, the cool thing to do was landscape. So I was trying to think about how I could reinvent it in some way or play with the tropes of landscape. So I was interested in responding to those tropes. I'm interested in the history and trying to continue that history in some form. And I think the romanticism can be problematic, but it can also be really compelling. And so figures like Friedrich, this sort of problematic idea of the male dominating force of landscape, this idea of the notion of landscape as being this sort of untouched arena, is not necessarily how we actually experience the world anymore. And it's hasn't been true for a long time. And so I also think about what are the ways in which we experience landscape now? What are the sort of equivalent versions of that in popular culture? So I think a lot about, I'm interested in the tropes that carry forward in social media and the ways in which those tropes are ultimately influenced by the history of the medium as well. So the fact that this painting from 1809, this other Caspar David Friedrich painting, can relate to, what we see with influencers who work outside, the ways in which they portray landscape. They tend to focus on similar ideas. The person is very small. They're overwhelmed by the immensity of the surrounding. So there's this notion there. There's usually this vastness that's implicated or implied rather. So we've got this use of the horizon line. So I'm definitely thinking about landscape and its history and everything about it that can be problematic. I'm also looking at figures like Charles Birchfield. I love the way in which Birchfield kind of has this electric aliveness in his work, the sense of hovering, quivering forms where you feel as though nature is really vibrating it right in front of you. I'm also thinking about the materiality of painters like Philip Guston, the ambivalence of painters like Alex Katz and the way that they present landscape.
Okay, that's where I want to stop.
And then the use of language in Neil Jenny's painting.
So I wanted you to understand that just like we looked at two other artists that were not working realistically, that realist artists think the same. I hope you understood that. I took that 5 minutes out of an hour and 14-minute lecture she gave. Now I want to see you the show. I was so blown away. I'm trying to help sell 2 of these works in the show. I'm going to show you the show. I don't know where she's going, but I think these are just gorgeous. So this is the show. I was just there earlier. Let's go through the gallery and I'll show you which pieces I love the most. I mean, I like the whole show. I am telling you, this is so beautiful. Anyone who took my photography class, I showed you a photographer that was showing you landscape like this. Stand here for a minute and you feel like you're entering a space. Now you're going to say to me, Toby, either I like this so much more than the Rauschenberg or so much more than the Ellsworth Kelly. And I'm going to say to you, they're all trying to do the same thing. Here, I love what she talked about. It's very complicated to look at landscape today and not know that we're ruining the environment. I mean, that's a fact. So I like that she's addressing that, but this is untamed nature. And I find that beautiful. Look at the way the sky and it's not manicured. It's very much present. And I love that she showed you Birchfield and Alex Katz. Let's look at another one. This is the most beautiful, but these are the ones that interest me more. That's beautiful, but these, and we'll go see them up close. She is trying to show you much more complication. In other words, how does it look from inside the space? Certain things that are dying to let other things live. The sky is very dominant in one of them, less in the one all the way in the left, and in the middle, there is no sky.
Just to confirm, these are paintings or photos?
Oh, sorry, these are paintings. Did I not say that?
Well, they look so photoreal that people ask the question in the chat.
Well, that's an excellent question, and thank you for asking in the chat. Some people would say, like, why is she spending so much time doing things that look like photographs? And my answer is because she doesn't want to. That's what artists do. They do what they want to do. She wants to make it look that real. And we're going to get to look up close, and you'll see the brush strokes. The reason I love her work, and I told her 2 dealers, they were so happy that I came in, because I don't usually go to this gallery, and it's on the 2nd floor. And during COVID, I don't usually do it. It seems to me about the looking. Whoever said that, I love. Oh, Elaine, that's of course you. I love that, Elaine. You're right. It's about the looking. That is exactly what the work is about. Wait till you see the next one. Let's keep going. Keep going. I want to get to individual images. Now you'll see the whole show. This again, so beautiful. You're looking down at the ground. You're looking at a garden, and you're seeing things growing. And they're wildflowers. These are not like tulips or roses. Let's keep going. I want to get to 1 or 2 up close. I love these. I just love these. But now I want to go to that's the show again. Now go to individual pieces. No, you have to go 1 minute. I'll show you where. Thumbnails. Go. That's what I want you to see. That's what I want. There it was. Take a look at how beautifully these are painted. But I want to talk about one of them in particular. Let's keep going. Van Gogh, yes. I feel like crying. This is so quiet. This is one of the 2 I want to talk to you about. Now you'll say to me, Toby, this is the one that's so sad. It looks like winter, and it looks like, and I'm saying, but she's playing with you. You see what's going on behind there. There's that blue that she's using, the green. It's very quiet. Go to the next one. Lush, alive. It is the beginning of summer. The reason I like this show so much is that she's moving between summer, winter, fall, and spring. Keep going to another one. My favorite one we haven't gotten to yet. That's my, look, I have it right here. Sharon laughed. I've kept it for a month because I knew I was going to see it. This is the invitation for the show. I got this in the mail. I said to Sharon, we're going to do a lecture on her, and it's on the 2nd floor. And I said, I don't care. But look at this. It feels like they're fireflies. Very abstract image. You are correct. And it feels like you're going in and in and in. And it looks like string almost. Let's keep going. And keep going again. So you saw the whole thing. So I hope you enjoyed this show. I think it's a beautiful show. Do I think she'll become more famous? I don't know. She's very young. Let's go to the next show. Now, she is one of the most famous living artists. She won a MacArthur Fellow in 2015. I'm a chassid of hers. I think she's a brilliant artist, and I love the way she talks about her work. This show is getting raves. I mean, it's on 2 floors at Hauser and Wirth. I wish I could pull you in just to see that show, because it's so much better in real than it is online. Let's look at this.
There's not a museum in the world I can't walk into and find something utterly magical. My name's Nicole Eisenman, and I'm a painter and sculptor. I draw from the world around me, what I know. I pull my friends and family into my paintings. Sometimes I paint the world as I want it to be. I paint the figure because I know the world through my body, and I understand my desires and my anxieties through my body and the desires and anxieties of our culture. I think the body can hold so much. It can be a site for just exploring the paint in, or it can hold metaphorical and allegorical meanings. It's just wide open. I had 2 great aunts who were painters, and I grew up in a house full of their art. That's what I wanted to do. That's always what I've wanted to do. I get excited by the material, by the color, by the paintbrushes, by the little beautiful tubes of paint that feel so precious. I love the visceral quality of painting, of like the connection between my eye, my hand, the paint, the canvas. And if that happens, that transference happens, that's magic. I think the external world filters in to my work, and all the themes are in there because I'm taking everything in. Politics and history and my personal life and my feelings. I have no clue really what's going to happen in any given work. Even if I do a preparatory sketch and I have some idea of what the thing is going to look like, it's a skeleton and you have no clue what the qualities of the piece are going to be. Yeah, maybe hanging off this one. It's always a surprise. I'm always amazed at how little I know until I get to the end of a painting or a sculpture. When I got the call from the MacArthur, I was in a supermarket. It was just another day, and then everything shifts, everything changes. You get struck by lightning. I think the fellowship gives me an extra boost of confidence just to go forth and do what I've been trying to do my whole life, but with the vote of confidence from my peers, which just feels amazing.
Okay, now we'll see her show. No, I want you to know she got $1 million. You know, when you win a MacArthur, you get a lot of money. But it wasn't about the money. It's really a great kavod. So now we'll see her show. So yes, does she remind me of Picasso and Matisse and all that? I understand what you're saying, but she takes it to a whole other level. I've never met her. I'd love to meet her. So if any of you are friends of hers, you can tell her I've been a fan of hers for over 10 years. I just think she's brilliant. So the show is up from May 5th to July 29th. So you understand they gave the show to the main building at Hauser and Wirth. It's 2 stories, 2 floors, and just look at the way it's painted. She knows how to apply paint in a beautiful, beautiful way. Go to selected images. Right on the top, it says, yeah. And it says view all, perfect. And you'll see it says all the information, how big it is, and that's how they do it. Go press to that little arrow.
Not working.
Oh, then go, you'll find somewhere else. Then let me find where it is. I just did it the other day. So keep going down. Let me see. Keep going. Try something else. It's there. I know it's there. Keep going to, wait, let me see where else it was. So about the artist. Download, press it. Not there. Not there. There it is. There it is. Here it is. Nicole, Untitled. There it is. The show. That's it.
It's not working. It's like
I don't know why
it's
it's
only
not
showing
working.
us the one piece of art.
No, they're all there because I saw it just now. 1 minute. Let me just see where you have to go. Keep going down. Keep going. Keep going down. No. Oh God.
We're in a loop of something weird here.
I don't know what your loop is. I don't know. They're like 20 images.
Well,
I don't know what happened.
It's stopping us here.
It's stopping. Oh, I'm so depressed. Sharon, why is this happening? We saw all the images. Viewing room. Why is that not going? Current. Go to current. Maybe you have to go to current. It's a great gallery. No, he's doing it. I'm not doing it.
View all.
View all. Try the view all here. Maybe it'll work then.
It's kind of stopping us here.
I don't know. No, he said it's not working there either. I don't know why. It's a good. There's sculpture. There's paintings. There are 2 floors of art. You know what? Try going to Hauser and Wirth, just the gallery exhibitions. Go with. I wonder what current. I just did it on Tuesday and I saw it all. That's Larry Bell. That's not the show. That's not that. That's not, there it is. Wonder what happened.
It could be having issues on there.
Oh, there it is. There it comes. There it comes. Go down below. No.
No, you're just putting us back in the same thing here.
You might be in issues. I will try and get it to you. I used it just the other day. Oh, all right. Now we'll go to Carmen Herrera. I don't know why that happened, and I'm very sorry. No idea why that happened. I just did it on Tuesday, and it worked. All right. Well, there always has to be one thing, and I'll somehow get it to you. Now we're going to Carmen Herrera. So this was she was 101 at the time in 2016. So it's a 4-minute, and you'll see all about her history.
40s. Since then, the Cuban native has worked in Paris and New York, largely unnoticed, but her geometric paintings and sculptures are now getting new attention. At 101 years old, Herrera is receiving recognition many believe is long overdue. She has a solo exhibit at New York's Whitney Museum of American Art.
Here's to the beginning.
At 101 years old, Carmen Herrera has a lot to celebrate.
I've been very careful in handling.
Oh yeah, look how clean it is and how nice it is.
I'm so glad that they're doing it.
For 7 decades, Herrera has flown under the radar in the art world. It's hard to believe that she didn't sell her first painting until age 89.
No, they're already sold.
Herrera's critically acclaimed solo exhibit at the Whitney Museum defies the straight lines that got her here.
When I heard that she was going to be given a retrospective at the Whitney, I thought this is perfect poetic justice.
Edward Sullivan is an art history professor at the Institute of Fine Arts at New York University and has followed Carmen's work for many years.
A little late, but she's been hiding in plain sight.
When I was younger, nobody knew I was a painter. Now they're beginning to know I'm a painter. I waited a long time. There is a saying, if you wait for the boss will come. I say, yeah, I wait almost a century for the boss to come. And he came.
Born in Havana, Cuba in 1915, Herrera came to the U.S. with her late husband, Jesse Lowenthal, in 1939. A few years later, they moved to Paris, and it was there that Herrera found her artistic voice. Dana Miller is the curator of the Lines of Sight exhibit.
Paris was a very important, wonderful period of her life, and I think that is probably where she really blossomed.
She was doing things in the early 50s and in the late 40s, which were way before they really became popular.
Fellow artist Tony Bachara has been Carmen's neighbor for over 35 years.
If I have learned anything from my friend Carmen, is that whether it is in daily life or in my own painting, I always remember her. Keep it simple.
Simplicity became the focus of her painting and sculpting, as seen in the documentary The 100 Years Show.
Straight lines, I like angles, I like order. In this chaos that we live in, I like to put some order. So that is why I guess I'm an heritage painter.
During the 2015 Whitney Museum inaugural ceremony, Michelle Obama paid tribute to the 75-year career of Herrera.
Maybe you could discover the next Carmen Herrera or Archibald Motley or Edward Hopper or, yeah, maybe even the next Barack Obama.
Little girls can come to the Whitney and they can dream about being the next Carmen Herrera. And it just, it really got to me.
This exhibition helped spark great interest from art critics, collectors, and inspired a fashion line based on her work.
By staying loyal to her vision, despite the fact that she was not getting recognition, she sets an example. And I think that a lot of the positive reaction that she's getting now at the age of 101 has a lot to do with that.
The recent fame hasn't changed Herrera. She still wakes up every morning and draws in the New York studio she's lived in for 50 years.
There's a feeding frenzy. I mean, it's not like you can just buy a Carmen Herrera painting. At this point now, you have to get on a wait list.
For years and years, I didn't sell anything. Then suddenly, I began selling. The prices are going up. What?
I would call her the star of Manhattan at the moment because she has really burst onto the scene for many people in a very unexpected way. A lot of audiences who visit the Whitney probably have never heard of her.
She says her bus has come. And I think she kind of knew it always would.
Last month, Herrera's cerulean painting sold at an auction for $970,000 to a telephone bidder. The Lines of Sight exhibit will be at the Whitney Museum until January 9th. I encourage you guys to go check.
Okay, now we'll see the show. Ari, Sharon sent you some images so that you'd have them later, but I don't want to stop with the Carmen Herrera now. So anyone want to tell me what they, let's go to the Carmen Herrera show and you tell me what is the difference between Carmen Herrera and Ellsworth Kelly? And I'll give somebody 10 points. As Ari would say, I want to know, what do you love? Wait, let me hear what somebody wrote. Look at these images and tell me what the difference is. Anybody want to tell me? I'm dying to hear your opinions.
You're asking that you, sorry, can you
more
rephrase the question?
motion. Bob and Rita, you're getting A pluses. More motion in them. These are not shadows. These are looking at actual things that she noticed. Do you see what I mean by that? They're about looking not at the shadow, but at the negative space. What do I mean? Like, I love that blue and red one and that black one on the wall. It's like looking through a keyhole. She's looking at something straight on and telling you visually what she's seeing, or walking up steps, or turning around a corner, or looking at a table, or looking at a shirt, and looking at a highway. And she's looking at what she's seeing. Now, the other interesting thing is none of these are that big. Why? Because she had a small studio and she was not like Ellsworth Kelly, who had a list out the door. So these are not that huge. They're like 4 feet by 5 feet.
Do you have any explanation as to why she was not discovered till way late, and then why she was discovered so
Well,
late?
I feel terrible to say this. She had two things going against her. She was a woman and she was from Cuba. And I'm sorry to say, and that's why I'm dedicating this to you, to Rosa, because I love that you're proud of where you come from. There was a time that if you didn't come from New York, the big, you had people like Pollock and all these people who moved to New York. She was in Paris at the exact same time as Ellsworth Kelly. But she was a woman. And at that time, you can't even believe it, but there was a time when Sharon's laughing in the background. There was a time that being a woman was a negative in the art world.
Was being from Cuba as well a negative for her?
Well, because she wasn't from New York or LA. Yeah, Cuba was not an art center. She had an amazing husband. Watch the film, it's beautiful. He was a German Jew and he believed in her. And he was a teacher at Stuyvesant. And in the movie, you hear them say that she got very disgruntled and felt bad. So she would say, destroy it, destroy it. And he would put it in the basement. And thank God he never destroyed it, because when her ship came in or her bus came, there was all this work in the basement that she didn't know about that. Oh my God. Eleni Litt, your husband went to Stuyvesant? Wow. Apparently he was a great guy. That's so interesting. So somebody in the group is a friend of mine. Her husband was his teacher. Did he ever tell you about her? The art world does not recognize women. That is true. It's an unfortunate. Now it's not. No, that I don't agree. I don't believe a little has changed, because the auction prizes prove it. They might not get as much as the men, but there are many great women now who are like. I'll give you some famous ones. Oh, you just saw. What's her name? Just sold for a lot of money. Joan Mitchell, and I can name you a lot. Oh, what's her name? Nicole Eisenman. I mean, there are a lot of artists now that are women. Now we can go back for a minute. I want you to see these. Oh, I love this Gursky. Oh my God. I don't know. I'm going to stretch time. You got it. This is brilliant. This is Andreas Gursky, great photographer who teaches us to think about what photography can mean.
Being one of the most important artists and photographers in the world, who's constantly questioning what the boundaries of photography are, how to expand what a photograph might be, and how to question how we look at pictures. This exhibition is a look at his entire career, Gursky is probably best known as someone who's been an audacious chronicler of the global economy and documented the epic sights that global capitalism has produced. Well, he began by photographing things close to home. He lives in Dusseldorf in Germany, and he really developed this interest in how people behave as groups and how we behave as a collective and what the collective structures are that shape our behavior. And he started making pictures like Salerno that shows you this Italian port city, and it's like a picture of an entire social ecosystem. Andreas has said that he is interested in photography as a way of trying to understand how the world fits together. And he's giving you an entire world in one picture so you can understand how that system works. Photography has this real-world reference, but it can mix that with a fictional reference. And I think in Andreas's pictures, he's taking advantage of the fact that photography can give you both things at the same time. Perhaps Andreas's most famous image, which is called Rhine 2, not far from Dusseldorf, where he's digitally manicured the image. So he's removed a couple of buildings that are actually on the other side of the river. I think this is really an image about our desire for controlling nature, rather than an image of a real river. You know, Andreas has said something which I really like, which is that pictures are more intelligent than we are. There's more going on in an image than we can actually ever grasp. Somewhere in there is a Gursky catalog. If you stand very far away from some of his pictures, like this picture of a tulip field in the Netherlands, it looks like an abstract stripe painting. It's only when you go in and you look up close that you start to see what it is. And you see one tiny human figure right there in these rows of tulips, which look quite artificially colored. It's only really when you come in the gallery that you get this incredible experience where you have to stand away from the picture to see the overall shape and then go in close to look at the details and scan them because they're so big. You can't take it in with just a single look. When we were installing the show, I kept using the word painting by accident because these works have such a sophisticated, formal complexity to them, and they have the size of paintings, that they seem like they exist somewhere in between photography and painting. He's looking at every kind of image that you can make and playing with all those different traditions to make something that's completely unique.
Okay, let's go to the show. You realize those are 3 Turners that he photographed to look at them as those are paintings that he photographed. All right, let's go to see the show. I know I'm getting late. I put too much in the day, but I hope you had fun. I want to show the show now. That piece that he did in Dusseldorf is one of my favorite pieces of his. So here he goes around and you see things on a scale. Do I think they would look nearly as good small? I don't think so. But I think they look breathtaking large. They're bigger than you and I are. I love the ski slope. And you can see that's another one where he manipulated. He does that when he wants to get rid of buildings and landscapes, but they're just beautiful. And I think that the size makes a huge difference. Let's get to the works themselves so you can see them up close. I'm very sorry that other one didn't work, but Sharon and I sent you stuff so you can see. Wait, let's go to there. And you go to the little arrow on the side. This one is my favorite in this show. You feel like you're walking outside your hotel room or your house and you just see masses of land. And I love, you see all the land and then you see how small people are. And I love what he said, that with our human eye, we can't see everything that's there. I would love to own one of these, but they're huge. They're bigger than any wall in my apartment. And you know who that is? That's from 2020.
Angela Merkel.
That's Angela Merkel. Yep. And this is again, this is Rhine River. He does this over and over again. He's basically saying, let's get rid of the buildings. I love this work. It's very quiet. It would look great next to a Mark Rothko. And then again, thinking about what does it mean to be a fashion person and looking at it from a different angle. It changes the way you see people and humanity. I'm such a fan of his. All right, can we go back for a minute? Because I want people to see those Nicole Eisenmans. Sharon sent them to you, Ari.
I'll give it a shot. It's just
all right, then don't. Then you'll just send it to them later. I just want to talk about her for a minute because I think she's one of the most brilliant living artists. And I like that she's equally comfortable in painting and sculpture. So in the gallery at Hauser and Wirth, it's going to be there until July 11th. It's up there for 2 months because she's such an important artist. She does things on the roof. It's just, and I want you to see how she uses sculpture so differently than she does painting. And look how she puts material together. And that's bronze. So she does equal, and then these are outdoor aluminum sculptures. Let's keep going. I love this piece. It's called Morning Affirmations. It's basically this turkey looking at itself in the mirror. I just think she's so smart. Thank you for doing this, Ari. You're such a nice person. Let's go to the next. So in the show, there's a floor of painting and a floor of sculpture. Let's keep going. Keep going. I want you to see these other paintings. Again, this is in the show. It's a whole installation and things keep moving. Look at that painting again. It's oil. It's oil on canvas. They're beautiful. They're very large. And you see it's going over the cliff. That's another famous of her garden pieces. Again, take a look at how it's called Night Light. And it's very psychological, but she paints like a dream. And yes, there's a surrealist quality to it. Ari, you're a wonderful person for doing this for me. And that's her at work in her gallery, in her studio, I mean. Morning studio. She paints like she'll show you, like on the wall, it looks like that is from a computer and she's projecting it. And then out of her, it's a painting inside of a painting inside of a painting. Really gifted artist. I love this. One of my favorites. That's in the show. You see the kid looking at a computer with his feet up. And I mean, it's just so funny. It's just so funny. He has a great sense of, she has a great sense of humor and also very cartoony. Weeks on the Train. So she takes from real life and puts it into her paintings. And sometimes the pieces are very cartoony and sometimes they're very literal. There's a beautiful painting of a woman of this again. I love it's what happens in a room or who's talking to who and who's in love with who. And that's in the show on the, that's in there too. And yes, do I think she's looking at Paul Klee and Picasso? I don't care. Yes, she is, but she does it so well. And you see how fluid she is between painting and sculpture, which I love. And that's again, this looks like the great, it's the triumph of poverty. In other words, it's looking at American history. She's a very smart person. She belonged. It's great that she got the
MacArthur Genius Grant.
Yeah. But you see how different she can paint three-dimensionally, two-dimensionally. She goes to sculpture. She does all different types of paintings. I am such a fan of hers. Thank you. So now let's get back to the end because I know I'm late and I apologize. We did not finish everything, but I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Any questions before we have to leave? How many women get gallery shows? I think it's almost, I'd say it's almost 50-50 now. Now, the only problem, which I have to say, is that they don't sell for as well, but that's just the marketplace, and I don't believe in the marketplace.
Who are we not seeing that was on your list? Who are these people, Lorraine?
Great people. We're not seeing Lorraine O'Grady, who's great too, and we're not seeing Richard Nonis. Both are wonderful artists, but you can see them on your own. I mean, I'll stay on for 5 more minutes. I love Lorraine O'Grady.
Well, here's some quick questions people asked. So which is the biggest gallery in New York? Is there like by size? Like
it's not only about big, it's about power. The most powerful ones are Hauser. They're in California too, by the way. They're now global. All these galleries are global. They have like 6 or 7 galleries. Hauser and Wirth, David Zwirner, Pace, Gagosian, who else, Sharon? Lehman Mopin, Matthew Marks, Barbara Gladstone. They're like a whole bunch of galleries. They represent like 50 people, but they have like 7 different venues.
Right. We've been in New York for the last 3 weeks, and I think, are we in New York next week with you as well?
I don't know what to do. There's a part of me that likes showing you things that I actually walked into. But if you want me to change it, I'll do whatever you want. I don't care. I could do this for every week for 10 years. But I'm saying to you, there's a part of me that wanted to show you things that I actually, Tobi Khan, walked into the space. If I wasn't able, before when you and I planned this, I was doing almost everything online. Now I'm going to galleries every week. So there was a part of me that wanted to show you things that I actually was there. I knew where they were on the wall. But I will do, we have one more week, right? If you want me to switch it up a little, I'll do whatever you guys want.
Well, Marla says, just please do galleries for the next 10 years and we'll get to all of them. It's no big deal. I guess let's end today with one question, which is, you have been in New York, but a lot of us are in California. So where in LA is the equivalent to what
they have them?
What's the area? LA. But what's the area? Is there like a Chelsea?
No,
LA all spread out?
They're more spread out. They're more spread out. Listen, LA is every city is a different city. I love London. I love Paris. I've never been to Seoul, Korea, but apparently there are now art centers everywhere. And I have to tell you the truth, LA is really powerful now. There's many great museum shows in LA. In fact, not everything comes to New York anymore. Many things stay in Philadelphia or Washington or Boston. New York is a center. Now, if I were out there, I could find you great shows. Now, are there more galleries in New York? Yes. There are so many galleries in New York, it's frightening, but there's a lot of crap too. I mean, I really work hard to find you great shows. There are thousands of galleries. I'm not taking you to 99% of them. I'm picking the ones that I think are the best.
And then last question was, people say, how do we go on a gallery tour with Tobi? So other than with CSP, we're going to arrange something. You and I will talk about that. And we'll invite people who've attended the most programs, something special. We're working on stuff behind the scenes. But let's say someone's coming to New York. Can they sign up for a tour with Tobi, or is this only private? If they join, they have to like basically be a student of yours.
So I've been doing this for, I'm embarrassed to say how many years. I do it through an organization in New York, but I now do it less with them. I do take private groups. I mean, that's one of my businesses. That's why I know as much as I know. I take small groups, like for birthdays for people or people that are coming to New York and they say, we want to have 8 people. I always say, don't do it alone because it's too expensive for just you. But if you get a group together, then I do this all the time. I mean, but I do it. I don't do it in the summer. Don't come in the summer to New York because I can't get you as many great shows. And the galleries, as Sharon just said, they're more group shows. And that's why in the summer, you'll sometimes have a gallery up for like 2 months. The best times to come are during auctions and during the big art fairs. Then you're going to get the best shows ever.
Is that, what time of year is that?
It's in October, November, and late April, May, and June. That's why I'm having so much fun. I can't even get every show I want to show you. That's what's so powerful.
When CSP, we did the trilogy of really cool New York adventures. Maybe we'll do them again someday. Every year for 3 years, we went and you had choices and adventures and you learned. So on the last of the trilogy, one option was to go on a gallery tour in Lower East Side, which I did. And I saw some great stuff going on down there. I don't know what's going on, but there seems to be
so
stuff
the
there.
Lower East Side, now the best 2 areas by far, and I'm an advisor, so I only go to 3 areas now. The best is Chelsea. The second best, with a close second, is now Tribeca. It's grown meshuggah in the last 5 years. I see that you're shaking your head, Luis. It's now hotter than hell. I mean, the only problem is it's not as easy to get to by subway. So I do more of Chelsea, And then the third, freakingly enough, is Madison Avenue, because the rents went so far down, it was losing everything. Now there are at least 25 great galleries on Madison Avenue. 57th Street, dead as a doornail. I mean, dead as a doornail. Lower East Side, Bay No Knee. It was doing well, but then Tribeca became so cheap that a lot of the galleries moved now. Now, why is Chelsea staying so big? Anyone want to answer? I'll tell you if you don't know the answer. The galleries bought the buildings, so they didn't have to worry about the real estate going up. So many galleries were freaked out about Soho because they spent so much money and time in building up Soho, and then their rents doubled and tripled, and then they had to leave. So now the galleries have been much smarter and they've bought their spaces.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think we're going to end on that note, just because we've gone over time. But people, people stayed, so they're interested. Tobi, thank you for the third tour. Looking for the final tour next week, same time, going back to New York. And Louise Sherby, I don't know if she's gotten out of the house to go to any of these. I haven't seen any photos, Louise. So if you're in New York, look at all these galleries. Please go.
I want to ask one question to somebody who's a friend of mine. Eleni, did your husband know? Can you unmute her? I want everyone to hear, because I heard he was a great teacher at Stuyvesant. Did he teach math? What did he teach? Math. What was it that he taught?
I think he taught literature.
Oh, maybe it was literature. And I heard he was a nice.
Yeah, he Lowenthal was Neil's teacher. Yeah, and he loved him.
I heard people said he was the nicest guy.
And that's how Neil knew of Carmen Herrera. So when the show came to the Whitney, we jumped on it and went. It was great.
So here's what school was this?
Stuyvesant. Let me ask him.
So here's my suggestion. Someone should go to the basement in Stuyvesant or on the wall. I bet you something is hanging there that's worth about $955,000.
No, now they're way over $1 million. But okay, the interesting
probably
thing
sitting there in the gym locker.
It wasn't English. Yeah, I thought it was English. And he was a German Jew. And the story is beautiful in the film. Her brother knew him, and she went there. She was Catholic. And the story is amazing how they got to know each other. Then they bought a building in Chelsea that was worth nothing. And it's the basement in Chelsea that had all the work, not the basement in Stuyvesant. She kept putting stuff in the basement in Chelsea.
I'm still going to Stuyvesant when I go to New York.
All right. Well, good luck.
I'm telling you, it's in the hallway next to the board with all the junk on it.
It's not the same building, but I'm happy for you.
It's a new building.
It's a new building. But anyway.
Well, thank you, everybody. And
all right. Have a great
day. We'll see you all tomorrow, 9:30 a.m.
Rosa, did you like her? Rosa, before you leave, wasn't it fascinating? You're on mute. Unmute. I'm dying to hear what you felt.
Yeah, I loved everything. It's amazing, all the people that you have to show us. I liked Ellsworth Kelly a lot.
Me too.
Of course, Carmen Herrera, of course, fellow compatriot.
Look at the movie. It's a great movie. It shows their love story. It's a beautiful love story between Lowenstein, and it was very interesting as a Christian Jews and how they fell in love. And he really supported her career.
Okay.
All right.
Put that on the list. Okay, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.